Welcome back into Sports Bliss Live. Luke Robinson back with you now. And, you know, one thing that I really respect about a lot of people in this industry, because I do it myself, is they get their hands in a lot of different programs and they're still able to pull it off. I don't know if I am, but I know this guy can. Mr. Drew DeArmond, who has several shows that he's a part of when it comes to Alabama and Alabama sports in general. Talking Ball out of 97.7 in the Huntsville area. He's a contributor to Tider Insider. He also does a podcast and radio show called BAM's Radio. It's on Thursdays from 7 to 9. Does a fantastic job with just a plethora of hosts, all representing Alabama, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. Drew, how are you tonight, buddy?
Good, Luke. It's an honor to be on the Sports Blitz for the first time. Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, I'm sorry it's taken us so long, to be honest with you. I mean, you're a guy that knows his stuff, and we really appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about Alabama opening camp here very shortly. It's getting really exciting, and what are you most looking forward to? Let's throw the quarterback race out of it. We'll address that individually a little bit later on. But other than quarterback, what are you most looking forward to seeing out of camp?
I'm really looking forward, honestly, Luke, to the offensive line. And I want to see if Jonah Williams, who's, from what I understand, now up to 305 pounds, can he continue on the path of spring practice and take over the job at right tackle and bookend Cam Robinson? If he's as good as I believe and what I've been told by the people I talk with close to the program, it could be Alabama's best bookend tackles, of the Nick Saban era. I know he's should be just finishing, going to his prom. He's only 18 years of age, really, but he's. I thought he was the best player in the 2016 recruiting class. I think he's a freak of nature, and I want to see Lester Cotton. I thought he was in the 2015 class the best offensive lineman in the country. Now he's looking to try to take over at left guard, and I want to see if Ross Pierce-Baker can, I think, replace the most underappreciated player on that Alabama football team, and that's Ryan Kelly, who was a 3-year starter. I remember when Barrett Jones graduated in 2012, he said, Ryan Kelly's going to take over for me, and he's going to be better than I was, and he was very prophetic. Ryan Kelly drafted as high as any center's been drafted in a long time, and Peter King this week giving him some buzz for perhaps Offensive Rookie of the Year for the Indianapolis Colts. And I think he really helped calm the quarterbacks for the last couple of years, Blake Stem, and then of course, Jake Coker. He was a great leader. I just say he's one of my all-time favorite guys, and I just want to see how that O-line comes together. And of course, Shank Taylor, will he be out for the first practice out on the field, or will he continue to be indefinitely suspended? Brandon Kennedy and Bradley Bozeman, could that open the door for them to compete at right guard?
Yeah, I think that center position is very, very intriguing and is so important and so unheralded. I think you're absolutely dead on with that. And Ryan Kelly, we'll get a chance to see him Sunday in the Hall of Fame game as the Colts take on the Packers. So we'll be looking forward to seeing Ryan Kelly give snaps to Mr. Luck. That will be something to behold. I think that he could have a very long career in the NFL. The defensive line, that's been a staple for Alabama for a long time now. Some people are mildly concerned about the depth along that front, but it sounds like Raekwon Davis will be eligible to play this year now. This is a guy that I saw at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game. I'm about 6'5", about 230, and I could have easily hidden behind this character. He is a monstrous human being. I think he may come in and play right away.
Luke, I think I was told today if he's eligible, that he will be in the 2 deep. He's very raw, but he's already shown a lot of improvement through his senior season and been hard to handle when he got to Alabama. And I can tell you, he measured when he got there in late May, Luke, in early June, 6'7", 331 pounds, and did not look fat at all. And I know you can attest to that.
Yeah, he's a huge human being. I mean, actually, I shook his hand, and his fingertips went beyond my wrist. It was really intimidating. He is just a really, really big guy. The wide receiving core, I just saw on SEC Network where they were ranking the wide receiving core throughout the SEC, and they ranked Alabama's number 1. I agree with them, but I think there's a lot of pressure on this group. You also are taking into account that they're going to have somebody capable throwing them the ball. So I want you to talk about the wide receivers and then lead that into where you think the quarterback battle ultimately ends.
Well, Luke, I got to say, it is the deepest wide receiver group. When you think about the top 5 guys, we know how good Calvin Ridley is. He was the best freshman wide receiver in college football last year. Had an impact like Amari Cooper and Julio Jones. He was an electric performer. I thought Ardarius Stewart was as improved as any kid on the team by the end of the season. He completely bought into what he was doing. He stopped dropping the football. He was a devastating blocker. He did the little things. Then you have Robert Foster, who was really starting to develop a rapport with Jake Coker as the number 1 guy before he tore his rotator cuff against Ole Miss. You know, I've been told by someone who spoke to one of the great wide receivers, Julio Jones in Alabama history, that he believes Robert Foster can be the best wide receiver on the football team. And then you take into account, as you continue, Garrick Dieter has been very impressive since he reported in late May after graduating from Bowling Green as a graduate transfer. Richard Mullaney was a very valuable role player last year, Luke, and I think this guy can be a bigger, stronger, faster Richard Mullaney, who really brought a lot of things to the table. And then Cameron Sims. He was having an outstanding spring before his ACL tear last year. He came back during the last season, was affected by it. It kind of reminded me of Dante Hightower. Really looks much better this past spring, and I think he's coming into his own. It's just a very deep group, and I think then you take into account O.J. Howard and his breakout game. There's playmakers all over the field, and I just think whoever the quarterback is, and I think Cooper Bateman has a slight lead right now, but if I had to, I'm still aboard the Blake Barnett train. I think he can win this job. From speaking with someone close to him, he really he had kind of an epiphany near the end of the spring. His first 2 scrimmages weren't very good. He was solid on A-Day. He's been living in the film room. As you can see, have seen on Twitter, he's up to 216 pounds. He's really grinding quite a bit. He worked again with George Whitfield. I think he and Jalen Hurts are the future. Jalen Hurts is a dynamic athlete, the best athlete at the QB position in many a moon. Was very impressive as a 17-year-old freshman. My only doubt with him is, one, Nick Saban's never played a true freshman at QB, but there's always a first time. But how, in 4 months, has he been able to learn the scheme? You know, Blake Barnett has been there over a year and should know the offense in and out by now. Jalen Hurts, we'll have to see what kind of progress he has made at the, from a standpoint of his mental retention. I know he's been a warrior in the weight room and worked really hard, but I really think those two are going to battle hard with Cooper Bateman. I still believe the future, and the future being this season, is with Jalen Hurts and Blake Barnett. I'm going with Barnett. I just think right now David Cornwell doesn't bring the athleticism that the other 3 do, and I think that athleticism is going to be needed because of some inexperience in the offensive line, especially in that opener against USC, which is a very dangerous game, and then playing Ole Miss early by week 3.
Well, Drew, a couple of really quick hitters, real quick, because we're about to have to go, but I wanted to get your take on the AP Top 100 programs that was released where Alabama came out number 4. Do you feel like they should have been higher, maybe a little lower? And also Trent Richardson being released by the Baltimore Ravens. I hope this isn't his last shot, but it sounds like it may be.
Well, with Trent Richardson, first of all, I hope it's not his last shot, but many believed it was. It's just been really a stunning fall after a very solid rookie year. But it's a cautionary tale. You know, you haven't arrived after 1 year in the NFL. It stands for not for long. You've got to make sure you've got good people around you that are trying to take care of you and not take advantage of you. And I think that's what happened with Trent. He had too many people pulling at him. I think he got a little heavy. I think he kind of lost focus. And sometimes in the NFL, it's tough to get your traction back, especially when it's a league where word spreads quickly. And it's been very disappointing. I thought the Raiders would be somewhere where he could really bounce back. That didn't work out. Hopefully he'll get another shot, but it doesn't look great. I agree with you, Luke. And then that poll by the Associated Press, whatever formula they used, Alabama is number 1. And I'm sorry, you have to go by the hardware, not number 1 in the AP. You got to go by national championships, okay? And Alabama has won many more than Ohio State. It's been a consistent program nationally since 1920. Ohio State is a very good program, And then so is Oklahoma. I can see Oklahoma in the top 5, and Notre Dame as well. Even though I would have to say Notre Dame needs to be number 5 because they haven't done anything since 1988. But to me, I think Southern California should be up there higher than they were. I think you could make an argument that they're playing in Dallas to start this season, but then when you go back and look through the annals of time, Alabama should be number 1 overall and Southern Cal number 2 in college football because the bottom line is hardware, and Alabama's won more of it, and the run they've been on in the last 7 years is unprecedented in college football history. There's just no doubt about it.
Well, Drew, I knew you'd have an opinionated take on it, and I'm glad I let you say it all, brother. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. We'll have you on again soon, okay?
I really appreciate being on the Sports List. Thank you, Luke, for having me.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
That was Drew DeArmond. Man, he brings the heat every time he comes on any program. I've heard him on several other stations, and he does a fantastic job. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sports Bliss Live.